Today, I'd like to continue to the concluding portion of this pastime here. Krishna Prabhu intended to come today, but he was held up in some other work, and so he couldn't come. And so I'm here to speak on this last concluding section. So far, what have we heard overall from? Just a minute. So far, what all have we heard now? We have heard how Krishna wanted to actually give an elevated feeling of devotion to Mother Yashoda. His objective was to please Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda's objective was to please Krishna. And this is the transcendental competition that is always present in the spiritual world. In our material world here, we always want ourselves to be pleased, my objectives to be satisfied, I have to be shown to be the greatest, etc. But in the spiritual world, the way that it works is Krishna wants to showcase the greatness of his devotees. And Mother Yashoda and other devotees who follow her in her footsteps want to showcase the greatness of Krishna and even other followers of Krishna. And what was happening in all of these big event where Mother Yashoda was tying up Krishna and she was trying to bind him with ropes. There were all these onlookers. There were all the other gopis. All of them were also intense and eager devotees of Krishna. And all of them were there to even advise Mother Yashoda, saying, why are you doing this? Your rope is falling short. And you're still trying to basically tie him up. You have used all the ropes in Vraja, and yet you're falling short. There is this theme is going to recur again and again in this pastime. There is the necessity for the presence of not just the devotee and the object of devotion, that is Krishna, but there is the necessity for the Sangha or the association of devotees. So how do you may ask me a question. How do you say that as such? It is these devotees who were telling Mother Yashoda, you're so tired after doing all of this, give it up. And when they said you're so tired, Krishna recognized, oh, Mother Yashoda is tired. Let me give myself up to him. When there is a recommendation from other devotees to Krishna, oh, look at this person, he is doing so much devotional service. Then Krishna comes and says, yes, I think I should give him something. That Supreme Lord, who is unbound or who cannot be accessed otherwise, becomes accessible through the recommendations of those who are very dear to him. That is the secret here in this devotional life, which we are getting to learn through this pastime. So finally, what happened, where we were ending yesterday, is finally Krishna, out of his mercy, allowed Mother Yashoda to bind him. Many sages try to perform austerities, perform tapasya. What for? So that they can actually know that there is one absolute truth. There is one absolute truth who is the source of everything, who is the sustenance of everything. If I get to be with that absolute truth, there is no need for me to actually take care of all the petty problems in life. They are the intelligent people, no doubt about it. But when they try to do it all on their own, say, for example, by going to a forest and meditating, or doing their own puja, etc., Krishna doesn't reveal himself so much to them. He can be revealed only when somebody like Mother Yashoda or those who are followers of Mother Yashoda come into picture. And why am I saying so? The next set of pastime after this is going to reveal that aspect all the more. So what happened after this is that, let me share my screen here. I can share a small slide. I hope you're all able to see this slide here, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. when describing this pastime of, let me minimize sentence here. Yeah. When describing this pastime of Mother Yashoda binding Krishna, as you see here, and all the monkeys are observing, all the other gopis, trees are observing here. At that time, Shukadeva Goswami tells this very important verse. Na ayam sukhapo bhagavan dehinam gopika sutaha jnaninam chatma bhutanam yatha bhakti matam iha. He says, this Bhagavan, this Bhagavana, Bhagavan, this Supreme Personality of Godhead, he says, he is not accessible to Dehinam. Dehinam is those who are embodied. Those who are very much thinking that I have this body, I have to take care of my body, there's so much to do. And their consciousness is fully focused on what is it that is required for me to keep my body and my life air together. When the focus is fully on that, Krishna will reciprocate and say, your focus is that, please go ahead with it. And there are some who are jnaninam. Those jnanis are the ones who want to be associated with the Supreme Lord on the dint of their knowledge of the scriptures that they have obtained. Even if a person wants that, Shukadeva Goswami says, he says, such people are not accessible. Nor it is Atma Bhutana. Who are these Atma Bhutas? So it's not accessible to the Jnanis, who are called as the mental speculators, and who are also striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances. Then there is this Atma Bhutana. Atma Bhutana refers to those who think that they are even related to the Supreme Lord. For example, Goddess Lakshmi. Goddess Lakshmi is, in one sense, personally related to Lord Vishnu. She is always serving at the foot of Lord Vishnu. And we also have Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma is, he has his origins from the navel of Lord Vishnu. And likewise, Lord Shiva is also related to Lord Vishnu. But yet, the Supreme Lord in his manifestation as Krishna is not easily accessible to all of them, neither to the persons like us who are the Hinam, who are fully attached to the bodily activities, nor to the Jnanis who are detached from the bodily activities, but who think that I think by negating certain things in life, I will be able to access the absolute truth. No, not even to them, not even to the Atma Bhutanams, but Yatha Bhakti Matamiha. He is accessible only to this Bhakti Matamiha, those who want to please Krishna for the sake of Krishna. Like how Vardha Krishna Prabhu was explaining. They don't come to the table saying, I have something for me and I'll give something to you. There is no business transaction. The transaction is only you and you alone, nothing for me. I am not bothered about it. And when that happens, Krishna bestows the entire world, the spiritual world and the material world, fully to such a devotee. So what happened after this? After Krishna was bound by this mortar, Yashoda Maya felt, yes, now I have disciplined my child sufficiently. He is my child, he has to be taken care of. And so she left. But then, where this mortar was being bound, next to it, there were two Arjuna trees. These days, it's a big fad in one sense. People take the leaf of the Arjuna tree and make a kind of a tea with it, and it's supposed to be an Ayurvedic health boosting, etc. Some of you may be taking it too. But there are these two tall Arjuna trees near each other. And then Krishna saw those two trees and he recognized what these two trees were. There was a history behind those two trees. Let me go to that in here with an understanding of a verse from the Bhagavad-Gita too. So here, maybe I'll come to this verse a little while later. Long time ago, it so happened that it was almost like 100 celestial years ago. 100 celestial years ago. May I request devotees to mute themselves, please? Okay. So a long time ago, it so happened that Kuvera, who's a lot of wealth, he had obtained the facility to stay near Mount Kailas. Why? Because he pleased Lord Shiva. And near this Mount Kailas, there is this tributary of the Ganga called as the Mandakini Ganga. Even today, you have this Mandakini river near the Badrikashram in the Himalayan range. Now, around this Mandakini Ganga, there are many hot springs. Even to this day, there are many hot springs. When you go to Badrikashram, as you enter the temple, there is like a bridge kind of a thing. And near there, the river is completely cold. But just at one particular place, the hot spring is so warm that travelers who come from far and wide, they first take a dip in that hot spring and then they go to the temple of Lord Badrinath. So likewise, there are many such places. And in those days, there were wonderful gardens near this Mandakini Ganga. Some say that this Mandakini Ganga is not just this Mandakini here in this Bhuloka. This is actually coming from a celestial region. So that, leaving that aside, there are wonderful gardens, and it so happened that the sons of Kuvera, there were two sons, they were by name Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. These two sons were enjoying in that forest along with ladies, and they were drinking alcohol, some wine and some wine kind of a drink there. It was actually called as Varuni. The scripture calls the drink as Varuni. How is it made? I don't know. So it so happened that when Nala Kuvera and Manigriva were enjoying with them, with these ladies, they even took off their dresses, and in that garden kind of an area, they were completely naked. And Narada Muni, who had come there on a purpose to meet somebody, and on the way he saw this Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. On seeing Nala Kuvera and Manigriva enjoying with all these ladies, all of them were naked, they were all drunk. On seeing Narada Muni, the ladies immediately covered their bodies. But Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, they didn't cover their body. They thought, okay, it's okay, it doesn't matter, somebody is coming, let's enjoy. There is a Mataji by name Vidya. Please, if possible, mute. So when they covered their bodies here, Narada Muni thought, these boys, these two young boys here, Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, what has happened to them is they have been very much blinded by wealth. Usually, it so happens that if somebody gets some high education, there is a sense of pride. If somebody becomes very powerful, there is a sense of pride. But when one gets wealth, and especially excessive wealth, one begins to think only in terms of one's own enjoyment. And also, it so happens that sometimes those who are very wealthy, they go to the forest. Because, if you go to the forest, there's so much greenery. There will be some garden kind of areas where there'll be wonderful flowers. And they go to enjoy that. And just for the sake of their enjoyment, they would go and kill other animals. Like hunting is a sport for some of these rich fellows. They think that by killing animals, they are able to showcase their skill. They are able to showcase how they are able to have control over others, etc. So this too excessive wealth sometimes dilutes the discrimination of people. And that same thing had happened to this Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. Kuvera, their father, was an ardent devotee of the Supreme Lord. And not just of the Supreme Lord, he was also an ardent devotee of the greatest devotee of the Supreme Lord, which is Lord Shiva. But these sons, they are misusing the property of their father. So I have to do something for them. How can I do something for them? It so happens that when a person is very poor, then he really is able to feel for the poverty of others. I think these people, these two boys, should also experience what is the meaning of that poverty, too much, being too opulent and too rich has actually spoiled them. And being sons of Kuvera, it is inappropriate that the world thinks Kuvera sons are at this kind of a level. Instead, it is appropriate that Kuvera sons are also elevated. So he cursed them. He cursed them that you will be born as trees. And why? And why did he ask them to be born as trees? Because a tree doesn't have any dress or anything as such. And these two boys, or these two young men, Nalakuvera and Manigriva, they too did not have any sense of I am here in front of a sadhu, I should be covering my body, etc. They just wanted to enjoy with their body. In fact, we see great sages like Shukadev Goswami walking around the universe, not just this planet, walking around to different universe according to the different Puranas, that he was walking without any dress. In his case, it is different. He considered this whole body as a dress for himself. But in the case of Nalakuvera and Manigriva, for them, they wanted to enjoy the sensation which they were getting with their body. And so Narada Muni said, a tree also likewise will experience various sensations. When it is hot weather, when it is cold weather, when it is rainy, and it is just experiencing its own body. May you be born as trees for 100 years. And he said, only when the Supreme Lord Krishna appears in Bhuloka, then you will be able to get redemption. So then these two, Nalakuvera and Manigriva, were immediately born as these two Arjuna trees, and they were patiently waiting, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for 100 celestial years. So if you take, for example, a day of our life, 1 year of our life is equal to 1 celestial year. So if you were to take 1 celestial year, actually, it is equal to 360 of our years, right? And that has to be multiplied by 2 because day and night has to be considered. 720 of our years is just 1 celestial years. Then you multiply by several other factors. So many, many years, they were just in that state. And therefore, what happened was when Krishna saw these two trees, he felt, I have this dear devotee called Narada. And what does this Narada do? Narada goes from one place to another place just so that he can give his wonderful association to others. Let me come to the next slide here. So this, what Krishna did there is, he went to these two Yamalarjuna trees, these two Arjuna trees here. He was tied to this mortar. He then just moved with this mortar a little bit, and this mortar touched these two trees, and suddenly they were liberated. Can you imagine that something just touching a tree, and that to a child? When somebody asked a question yesterday, which we couldn't answer, how old was Krishna when this happened? Krishna was definitely less than 5 years old when this occurred. Less than 5 years old. Okay. So less than a 5-year-old boy just moving a mortar and just touching these two trees, and suddenly the whole tree, this huge tree falling down. Is this ever possible? No. In our own lives, we often see that we may be in various situations which are very troubling to us, etc. But our troubling situation is just like how Krishna is taking care of these Arjuna trees. It is just incidental that this mortar, this grinding mortar, touched the tree and the tree fell down. In the same way, by just taking up to the process of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, many, many unwanted anarthas or unwanted attachments to unwanted things go away. And when those attachments to unwanted things go away, we really will experience the true bliss that each Jiva soul is meant to experience, right? So when Krishna made the mortar touch these two trees fell. Suddenly the Nalakuvera and Manigriva came back in their original form, in this shining, resplendent form, and they prayed. They said this verse, this is a very important, a very nice verse. They prayed to him, please, Vani Gunanu Katane Shravanau Kathayam Hastau Cha Karmashu Manasu Tava Padayor Naha Smrityam Shiras Tava Nivasa Jagat Praname Drishtisatam Darshane Astu Bhavattanunam. They said, henceforward, may all our words describe your pastimes. May our ears engage in reception of your glories. Shravanau Kathayam. So let us hear about your glories more and more. Hastaucha karmasu manas tavapadayornaha. May our hasta, may our hands and legs and other senses. What do we do? Tavapadayornaha. Let us engage in actions which are pleasing you. And what do we do? Smrityam shiras tava nivasa. May our mind always think of tava padayornaha. May our mind always think of your lotus feet. And let our heads offer obeisance to everything within this world, because all things are also in different forms. Right? And then they say, may our eyes see Drishtihi satam darshane astu bhavattanunam. May our eyes see the forms of the Vaishnavas. And this is the very important thing. In front of them is the very same Supreme Personality of Godhead. They have become humbled by years and years of being the trees. And now, though they who were intoxicated with drinking that wine kind of a thing like Varuni, etc., they were saying, let my mouth glorify the Supreme Lord. Let my ear hear about the Supreme Lord. Let my legs go to the places where the Supreme Lord conducted his pastimes, and let us serve him. But yet they are saying, for my eyes, I want to see the devotees. Why? Because this auspiciousness that they got in their life of having darshan of Krishna actually began with seeing Narada Muni. Without Narada Muni, where would they be? And this is a very important thing to be talked about. So this was actually spoken about very well in the Srimad Bhagavatam in verses prior to this verse itself. Let me just go to that verse. It says, Shrotasya pamsam suchirashramasya nanvanjasa suribir idito tatha tattat gunanu shravanam mukunda padaravendam hridayeshu yesham. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, the goal of a person who is engaged in Shrutasya, the Shrutis are the Vedic literature are called Shrutis. The goal of a person who is engaged in studying this Vedic literature, right, is actually Gunanu Shravana Mukunda Padara Vindam Hridayeshu Yesham. Is actually to hear the qualities of the devotees in whose hearts the lotus feet of the Lord reside. It is in the hearts of the devotee, Padara Vindam, Mukunda Padara Vindam. The lotus feet of Krishna resides in the heart of the devotees, right? And our objective is actually to understand the glories of these devotees. It is in that sense that the two young, I shouldn't say young anymore, the two princes or the two sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvera and Manigriva, actually said that we want to actually see Satam Darshane. We want to see have the darshana of saints. And how do we take darshana of saints? By rendering service to them and by hearing from them. That is the service which we render to the saintly personalities, and that is how we associate with these saintly personalities. So, in conclusion, Krishna said, yes, that's fine. And Shukadev Goswami then said this verse, Sadhunam samachittanam sutaram matkritatmanam darshanam no bhaved bandha pumsokshana savitur yatha. He says, when one is face to face with the sun, there is no longer darkness for one's eyes. If I'm looking at the sun, I will not be seeing darkness. Similarly, when one is face to face with a sadhu, a devotee who is fully determined and surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will no longer be subject to material bondage. And this morning program that we are having here is actually meant so to give this association of very nice sadhus, like we had the association of Varada Krishna Prabhu, and tomorrow onwards we are going to have the association of other wonderful sadhus. Let us, in this month of Kartik, be prepared to get the association of these wonderful devotees of the Supreme Lord and experience Krishna as is present in the heart of these devotees. We want to experience Krishna the way they experience them. And for us, it is even sufficient to just please these devotees. And so, like, how do we please them? Like Varada Krishna Prabhu told yesterday, if you want to please Krishna, get more people to come and serve Krishna. So if you want to please Varada Krishna Prabhu, let us get more and more devotees to come and hear about Krishna Katha every day. With this, I'd like to end here. Any comments or questions or thoughts?
Not much specific to any Katha, Prabhu, but the way you explained it's so nice. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hari Bol, Prabhu.
It's because of the blessings of the devotees who are present in this call and their prayers that something came from my mouth.
I felt so connected. Thank you so much.
Any other comment? So tomorrow onwards, tomorrow we'll be having the association of a very wonderful devotee. His name is Harikshetra Prabhu. Harikshetra Prabhu is a brahmachari, like most of us are married people. He's a brahmachari, and he is taking care of a center, which is an extension center of the Narasimha Giridhari temple in an area of Bangalore called as Whitefield. He will be speaking about another Leela called the Brahma Vimohana Leela. And in that Leela, what happened there, and there are the prayers of Lord Brahma. I am very sure it will be a wonderful time being with him and hearing from him. I'd like to request all of you to please join tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And following that, we will have Her Grace Navadvip Sachi Mataji also speaking about certain topics here. So please stay tuned for the rest of the Kartik month. Thank you very much.